Okay, let's start from Zayin and Aleph towards the top. Omer Avavo. So dealing with Avavo. Gadol Yom Hageshavim Mitchias Mason. Um the day that we get rains, and I think it's specifically after it gets held back, but the day that rain comes in. Now, we're gonna have a whole block today about rain, and today was a very rainy day. So Baruch Hashem. Gadol Yom Hageshavim Mitchias Mason. Getting rain on the day that we're supposed to is greater than Tchias Mesim. Either Tchias Mesim or Tzadikim. Tchias Mesim is only for Tzadikim. But everybody benefits from from Geshamim. So you see, it has a greater reach, and it affects more people. So it's greater in that way. And this is not in what this is against what Rabbi Yosef said. The Amr of Yosef, because because rain is as great as Tchias Mesim, that's why we put in the pasuk of. That's why we mentioned it at least in the pasuk of Tchias Mesim. So Rabbi said that it's greater than Tchias Mesim, and Rabbi Yosef said that it's the same as Tchias Mesim. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Gadol Yom Gesham Kiyem Shut B'Tayra. The day that we get rain is as great as the day that we got the Torah. Shenemar Yarav Kamot Lichi. It will drip down like water. My lakach, but ain't lakach al Torah. Shenemar Ki lakach Tov Nesati Lachem. I gave you a good lakach. I gave you a good transaction. Tairasi al ta'azoivu. And the next part, the next words in the pasuk are don't forsake my Torah. So you see that lakach is referring to the Torah. It's even more powerful than the day that we got the Torah. Shnei Yarif kamata lichi. Torah will drip down like rain. Me nitla b'mi. Now the only katan nitla b'gadol. What's comparable to who? When you say someone is like rich, like to say Reichli Kairach, I had the comparison, right? Still holding within the first couple of days. But you say Reichli Kairach means Kairach was richer than him. He's rich like Kairach. They always compare the smaller to the bigger. So you see the fact that the Torah was compared to rain, it shows that the rain is bigger. The Lashon, it's not so geschmack because the dripping it's comparing its drippingness. So I don't know. It's a little interesting that pshat. Okay, right. Rava Rami Ksiv. Rava has a series of psukim and his miyashav as follows. Yarav Kamata Lekri. It says that we just had that the Torah will drip down like mata, like rain. The Ksiv Tizal Katal Imrasi, and it says that it will come down like dew, my words. So is it like rain or is it like dew? It's a steer in the psukim. So he's miyashav as follows. Im tam chacham hagen hu katal. Now we said before we learned earlier in the Masechta that how is always a sim bracha, and rain depending on the season, depending how strong it is, depending on a few different factors. But tal is always a sim bracha. So if he's a tam chacham hagen, which means if he acts appropriately, then it's like a tal because his Torah will always enhance who he is as a person and better. The imlav are for kamata, are feilu kamata, and if he doesn't act appropriately and he's not worked out in the proper way, then it will destroy him like water, like mutter again, which it doesn't always destroy, but it has the potential and it has the tzad of destruction. And we also have this idea that Torah refines a person as well. So you have to. This is like a balancing act. You don't stop learning just because you're not Tamachacham Hagain, but at the same time, it while you're on that journey, it can have detrimental effects in the short term. Tanya, we learned in the Bryce. If someone is Isaac in Torah Lishma, the Torah is like a Sam Chaim for him, like an outsider of life. Shenema Eitz Chaim He L'Chazikim Ba. Famous pasuk. It's Chaim. Eitz Chaim He. It's Eitz Chaim. The machzik to those who machzik, to those who strengthen it, to those who are exact types, but machzikim. But Amar before stihi l'sharacha, and it should be a refuah. But Amar ki matzi matzachaim, and it says also that if you found Torah, you found life. That's mamavis. That's mamash like sama mavis. If you don't do if you're not l'shma shenema yarav kamata lichi. We had this pasuk a couple times already. That so just now, right? It says Yarek Kamata Lichi, you'll drip down like water, like rain. My Torah, the Ein Arifa Ela Hariga, and Arifa is a lashon of killing. Shenema Arfu Sham as Egla Benachal, and this calf will be beheaded in the Nachal. We had in the Saita this Indian of Egla Rufa, the lashon of Arifa can mean drip, but also can mean beheading. Amar Rav Zera Lacey man listening. Rav Yirmiyah was with Rav Zera, and he said Zugapis. Say up as a Mishnah. I can't. I'm too weak. So he said, "Mar milsa dagad." Say up as a ma'isa, but say something more agad, more derech Josh. Amalei hachim avierchan amayder sif ki adam eitz asada, because now amayder sif. What does it mean that a person is like the eitz asada? V'chi adam eitz asada, who is a person like mamash like a tree. Elam mishum dechsev. We have two psukim that seem to contradict each other again. Not really, but two opposing ideas. By a tree, it says ki mimenu teichav oisei loitzich. It says by a fruit tree, you should eat from it. You should not cut it down. The issur about tashchus by a tree is not to cut down a fruit tree. And says another tree that does not bear fruit, you should chop down. Okay, that's how you miyasha. That's another way. How you miyasha that both ideas are talking about a man, right? And I think the psukim are very obvious that they're not a stira, because one is talking about a fruit tree, one is talking about a non-fruit tree. What's it called? A non-fruit tree? I'm not sure. But a non-fruit bearing tree that you could destroy. So it's not like stealing psukim. But how do you refer to an eitz? How do you say that eitz? How do you say that adam eitz sadahu? Adam eitz asada. How do you say that a person like a tree? What tree is he compared to? The one that you could cut down, or the one you can't cut down? So okay, so how do you miyash this? In Tamar Chacham Hagenu, if he's a Tamar Chacham, then then you should eat from him, and you should not. The Chassan is doing. Then you should eat from the tree, and you should not cut it down. Right, let's make it a chai. I made that before. I'm not going to shaka. Hey, now it's the line number Aleph. Then we're over here. Mama's the last line of the narrow lines. Okay, so we have the Gemara in the middle of it says two. It says God makes us out. The person's like compared to a tree in a field, and then it says two different types of trees. One fruit bearing tree you should not cut down, and one a non fruit bearing tree that you could cut down. So haketzad if he's a hamachacham that's worked on and bamidus then you should eat from him. In other words, you should learn from him, and you should not cut him down. You should not cut him away. If he's not ice guy, but then you should shouldn't take from him, and he's right to be cut down. What does it mean? What is this pasuk of Barzel Yachad? I'm sorry, you have the way you sharpen steel is with steel. So you have a knife running on a steel, and the steel sharpens the blade of the knife. So too, a Talmid Chacham, two Talmidei Chacham that work together and that learn together, their swords sharpen each other. They each become better for it. Why does Torah considered compared to Eish? Where do we see this compared to Eish? It says, "I like Devarai Eish Nom Hashem." You see, the words of Hashem is compared to fire. Just like on fire is not being able to, you cannot light a bonfire with one piece of wood. A person also tired doesn't by himself doesn't last. You do have a few yichidim that I think of Yashiv, like never learned with the Chavrusa for like 100 years, and his psukim are niskabel worldwide. So obviously, even when he got into the public arena, it stood. But that's not a common thing. And most people need to learn with but just with the Chavrusa, because I'm a big bonfire guy, just to understand this idea with the wood, it's very important. But if you take a match, even a starter, you put on a piece of wood, it just sits there and it burns out eventually. The way to get a geschmack fire going is to make the fire always need to go up another level, and then it envelops everything in its weight, in its path. So if I had the way I build a fire is you have two pieces like this, you put like a little starter in the middle, then you crisscross and you crisscross. So now the fire has to get schlepped all the way to the third row, and the second the second row gets engulfed. Even if I just put 2 on top, it only goes halfway up, and it doesn't really chop on the second layer. You need it to go past where you want it to burn. So if you want to accomplish a ruchnis in Torah, you can't just shoot for where you want to go. You have to go above and beyond. 2 Talmidei Chacham are going to push each other past the point, and they're each going to accomplish more than they set out to originally. Okay, behind the Amr of Yosef Bachanina, Ma'idach Siv Charav El Abadim. Yeah, Ma'idach Charav El Abadim and Noyalai. Charav Al Seineim Shal Talmidei Chachamim Sh'Oiskim Bad Bad B'Torah. This Charav that it's talking about. Abadim is lashon bidud. So it's a charav on those Talmidei Chacham that learn alone. They learn Torah alone. V'lo'ayid ela shemitapshim, they become shaitim. Shenema v'noyalai v'lo'ayid ela shechaitin. Because the hacha v'noyalai v'ksiv hasam asher noyalai ashachatanu. So the lashon of noyalai is lashon of chait. So these Talmidei Chacham end up in a matter of tipshus or foolishness and of chait. The iba is aim hacha noyalai. Sorry, tzayach v'hisu es mitzrayim. Another lesson of, I think we had this whole shuttle in the end of Saita, but here you have another lesson of that they where you see that that Noyala is a lesson of Avera. Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak Lama Nimshlu Divrei Torah Eitz. What is the? Why do we compare Torah to eitz? Shenema eitz chaim hilim b'chazikim ba. We just had this pasuk earlier. Ma eitz katem madlik as a gadol. Just like a small piece of wood. You can take a small match and light up a huge bonfire. Right? It doesn't have to be relative. So too, the small Talmidei Chacham have an ability to be mechaded, to sharpen and to ignite the Torah of the old ones, because everyone has a unique perspective, and everyone's perspective challenging the Gadol is what sharpens them. I learned a lot from Merabbeim, from my friends, even more than Merabbeim, and from my Tamidim even more. So see, Tamidim, someone lower than him, was able to sharpen him to the point, because he had a lot of Tamidim, and they ask even Narisha questions, make you. If someone asks you a stupid question about gravity, you would still have to understand gravity on a higher level, right? When someone asks you a Nash Chashan Taisis, in order to understand how to answer them, you have to understand Taisis better. Rami Ksiv, he has a steers and Psukim that says Likras Tami. It says Likras Tami Asiu Mayim, bring to the thirsty ones. To the thirsty ones bring water. And it says all the thirsty ones should go to the water. So what's the stira? One says that I should bring the water to the thirsty. One says I should bring the thirsty to the water. So which one is it? If he's an appropriate Talmid Chacham, the Lashon Hagen we had a few times. I don't know exactly how to touch it. I think it has to do with midas. It's someone who acts appropriately. So then you should bring imtam. Oh, this is over at the Talmud. So if the Talmud is acts appropriately, then then you should bring the Rebbe to the Talmud. The imlav. But if not, he has to go to the Rebbe. We learned in Makkos that a person shouldn't, a Rebbe shouldn't have Tamidim who are not Hagan, because they end up in Golos and it's a big problem. The Rebbe has to be Nisgala, Nigla. The Rebbe has to go to Golos. I don't know exactly, but the Rebbe has to go to Golos because of the Talmud. Talmud kills someone b'shaygi. His Rebbe has to go with him. And one time from Sukkim, they have to give him what he in order to live. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, let's see. Simchas. Okay. His bar was last night, and I missed it in Pesach because I was mamish leaving an hour before his bar, whatever. Aber mamish came in for 10 minutes later. Mamish beautiful. The point is over here. So we say that a Rebbe should only chap Tamidim that are Hagen, because if not, he's going to end up in a pickle in the Aron Mikra. So if he's a Talmud Hagen, then you should go to him. But if not, let him come to you. In other words, don't be so excited to take him and don't run after him. Where are we? Let's talk about and this I learned on. I prepared this originally on Gimel Tammuz. To say this pasuk on Gimel Tammuz was a big kiss. So I was very excited about that. He said, "It says, your manisacha, your husband should go out. You should be by yourself." Same time, hugging the same thing, the same tarets to all these theorists. If you're a Talmud that's hugging, then we should talk. You should go out all over the world. So stay by yourself in your winkle and learn. Don't corrupt the whole world. What I'm thinking about Idi Lama Nimshlu Divitar the Mayim the Sib Hay called Sami Lachul Mayim. Why do you what is this connection between Torah and water? Simple gravity, as right. If you want to, the water always goes to the lowest point. If someone holds himself in a very great way, in a very big way, he loses his Torah, which is sometimes it's very hard to see. Someone who's a little bit learned and mamish holds of himself, it's something that you have to deal with. Something that we're spoiled already. Baruch Hashem. We had the Mashiach to look up to. We didn't understand that a God could be a Balgaiva, but I delighted. Fine. But you have this idea that the Torah leaves the place of Gavaya and goes to a place of Shveras. The Torah is compared to water, wine, and milk. And no, why do we see that? How do we see that? That we already had. See over here that it's connected to wine and milk. You only keep these. You don't keep milk in a fancy utensil. You don't keep wine also. Wine's. I mean, you have glass, but glass is not expensive. And it used to be that they kept it in earthenware. So you don't keep wine in gold kalim. So you keep them in cheap kalim. So too, the Torah, after the Torah, the same idea that Shufas Hadas is what the Torah is able to be mechoyim in and not gaiva. This famous story, the case of Rabbi Shua ben Chananya, the daughter of the Caesar came to Rabbi Shua ben Chananya, and she told him, that so much Torah is hidden in such an ugly keli. Amrullah, he said to her, Avicha, your father, Rami, Kamra B'mani, the Papa. Well, why does your father keep his whole wine collection in earthenware kalim? Amrullah, Al B'mani Nirmei. So what should she do? No, everyone does it. So everyone does it everyone does it in. Hold on one second. Everyone does it in earthenware kalim. You guys are chashiv, or not here. Everyone, you're chashiv. You should do it in gold and silver. No, everyone can't afford. Everyone can only afford carats. So you guys should keep it in silver and gold kalim. She said, you know what? She ran to her father to tell this brilliant idea. Rami Lecham b'mani dehav v'kas. For the sake of escape, so the Taka switch everything over to silver and gold barrels, and everything's spoiled. Asuv Amalei, she came to her and said, Amalei, Asuv Amalei, Asuv Amalei. They came and they told the servants told the king that all his wine spoiled. Amalei, Labati, he came to his daughter and said, Man Amalei Haki. Who told you this shussim to switch over my whole wine collection? Amalei, Karyu, they called them over. Amalei, and my Amalei, why'd you tell her to do this and ruin all my wine? Amalei, Kihechi, the Amrali, Amrila. The way she spoke to me, I spoke back to her. Which, I'm surprised, it's a chiddush that he didn't end up dead, but fine. The Gemiri. But the king had us a question. He goes, your tushta is not a geschmack tushta, because a lot of people that are not good looking, the people that are good looking and still are very learned. It's not a stira. She's asking a good question. She's saying there are people who are beautiful and smart, not that you're beautiful and ugly. But wine doesn't work like that. So he's asking Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Shua, that he didn't answer it good. And so he answered back, he have a sanu tefei hava gemir. If they were ugly or hated, in other words, or if they hated their ugliness, or if they hated their yofi, then or they disassociated with their yofi, they disenfranchised with the yofi, they weren't obsessed with it, then they would be even more learned. It would even have a better effect. And another reason on why these three mashkin are dummy to Taira, or they take out Ella, but these liquids are very liquidy. So if I space out, it could spill very easily. If I'm pouring honey and I look the other way, it's a glob. It still won't pour out right away. Or another shot is that something could fly in and get lost in it. Something flies into my milk, it'll go to the middle of the top. I won't see it necessarily. Something goes into my honey, it'll be on top, and I'll notice it right away. So hesach hadas, you have to watch it. You have to watch Torah, otherwise Chalila we lose it. The day that we get rain is as great as the day that Hakadosh Baruch Hu created Shemayim Ba'aretz. Shlema harifu Shemayim ma'al shchakim yizud tzadek tiftach eretz v'yipru yesha tzedakah tatzmiach yachad. All these shyness of that there's going to be rain and there's going to be and the ground's going to come up and it's going to be abundance from below. Ani Hashem barisav. I'm Hashem barisav. And there's a few things that we're talking about over here, but Hashem only says lashon yachad. So to tell you that Hakadosh Baruch Hu identifies Kilu by his ability, by his koyach of, or the fact that he created the rain. That's how great it is. Even the Yeshuas come out through the day of rain. That the ground will open and there will be a more Yeshua. Only if Hakadosh Baruch Hu forgives us, that's when we get rain. It said that Hashem wants the land, which means He wants it with rain. He gives it rain, and then it says He will return the captive Yaakov, and He'll forgive the Avain Amecha, and He'll cover the Chatam. Amar le Ziri v'dihavas l'Ravina. Amar Ziri v'dihavas l'Ravina. At mehacha masisa. At anor mehacha masisa. He said, "That's where you learn from. We learn from somewhere else." At tishma shmayim v'salachta l'alachatas. You will listen to the shmayim, and your averis will get forgiven. Amar Rav Chatanchim b'rei Rav Chia ish kfar akay en gesham netzaron ela imkein nischayvu seinim shel Yisrael kalaya. We don't get rain withheld unless the Seinem Sheyisrael, which refers to the Yisrael itself, as unless the Mechuyev to get destroyed. Shenema Tzia Gam Chaim Yigzelu Meimei Sheleg She'ol Chato. So you see that the Meimei Sheleg is withheld because of the sins of She'ol. Amar Rav Ze'er Midahavas Ravina Atam Mehachamas Nisan Anam Mehachamas Nisan. This is in Kriya Shema that Hashem says that if you serve other gods, then Hashem will hold back the rain and you will be destroyed. How does that infer that Trumas and Isis are responsible for the rain being withheld? When we reap during the Mesachama, and that's when we are mechayiv in Trumas and Isis. So from the things that I told you to do during the Mesachama, and you didn't do them, so therefore the rain of the winter is going to be withheld. A northern wind holds back rain. Upanim nizam l'shayin sasa. And the people who talk in private makes Hashem nizam. It's like an anger. Hashem. We see Hashem's angry face. That because of lashon sesa, which is things said in private, which is referring to lashon hara. Amar Rav Sala, Amar Rav Nuna, Ein Hashem netzaron el b'shua azipanim. The rain is only withheld because of azipanim. Shema v'yimanu v'revivim u'malka shloihaya There's not going to be rain, and because your face, your forehead is like the forehead of Isha Zaina, who doesn't have a busha and acts the way she acts with a haughtiness. Amar Rav Sala, Amar Rav Hamnuna, V'adam sheyesh le'atzis panim seif nichshel ba'aver. Will come to someone who acts as a bagaiva will come to be nichshel. Shenema meitzach Isha Zaina hayalach. You see that he has a forehead of Isha Zaina. Rav Nachman Amar b'yeduah shenichshel ba'aver. It was he was already nichshel ba'aver. Shenema hayalach v'lei nema yelach. It says that he already has the face of Isha Zaina, the forehead of Isha Zaina, and not that he will have. Amar Rabbi Rahuna called Adam sheyesh le'atzis panim mutar l'kreisei Rasha. Somebody who's valgaiva, you're allowed to call him Rasha. Shenema ha'ez ish Rasha b'fanav. A person who's haughty, you can call him Rasha to his face. Nachman Yitzchak Amar mutar l'snaisai. I think they changed the guess to mitzvah l'snaisai. Yeah, mitzvah l'snaisai. Shenema va'ez panav yishana, that his face, the face of a haughty person will be changed. Atak yishana ela yisane will be hated. Right, when I stop over here, we can do one more shtickle. Amar of Katina Ein Gasham. Let's stop over here. I don't know where my. Okay, fine. It's most of the way down Zion Beis. But as Hashem will continue tomorrow night. Be'ezras Hashem. Shkoyach for joining.
Love you, Mo. I have to go.